What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Miata Monday. So in today's video, we're back working on MB Miata. So hopefully finish up a few things that we didn't get to in last video. Feeling pretty good today, so hope you guys are feeling good too. I think we can get a decent amount of work done today, and don't really have too much planned, but should be just enough to kind of fill up a video. So my plan is for today is to at least tuck up the exhaust as much as possible. I do have a cool little trick on how to tuck up the exhaust with the rubber bushings. Kind of just get that extra ½ inch to an inch that mainly most people need, and it pretty much works on almost every car. So I'm gonna knock that out. Once we actually start doing that, I'll show you guys that. And then I also want to finally mount up my skid plate that I have for the MB Miata. This thing is pretty cool. This thing is a skid plate from Tight Racing. So this actually sinks into, there's like a little U section in the bottom of the subframe that it sinks right into and sits flush with the subframe. And then it has some nice stainless steel kind of countersunk hardware that sinks right in. So that's nice and flush now. And then this thing's all made out of stainless steel as well. So this is a super nice piece, shouldn't rust at all, and should fit up pretty nice in the Miata. And luckily, I had this whenever I did the high compression swap, so all my holes are drilled already, so I literally just need to mount this up. I just been kind of a little too lazy to kind of just jack this thing up and actually mount it, because I know it's going to be a little bit of a pain using these little Allen key bolts and then having a little 10mm nut on the upside of the subframe, kind of in between the oil pan and the subframe. It's not going to be too fun to tighten those up, so I'm going to push that off for last. First, I want to jack up the back, get the exhaust all tucked up so then we can get some room. I might pull you guys off the tripod real quick and then show you guys the exhaust real quick, because this thing hangs super low and I might be able to show you guys. You can hear that, that's the exhaust bouncing off the ground. So we need to tuck that up so then we can bounce frame rails instead of exhaust or oil pan in the future. But luckily I already have, it might be hard to see, but way down in there, I already have some engine risers and some solid engine mounts in this thing, so this thing should be good to go. It's gonna be kind of hard to tell, but the engine is pretty high up in the engine bay. Doesn't hit the hood, so we're good there. If anything, I was thinking about buying another kit of those, so then we can raise it up a ½ inch completely, and it should give me a lot more room. And then whenever I had the engine out as well, I ended up notching my subframe, so then both sides are slotted, because if you know Miatas, the passenger side is slotted, but the driver's side motor mount is not slotted, so it kind of makes the motor a little, kind of tweak it all over the place. Might be able to show you on this car, because I never got to do it on this car. You can see it's sitting down a little bit on the passenger side, but it's no biggie. Well, luckily, I can fix that in the future. And this one, I kind of learned it from, so I can make it a little bit nicer on that car. But let's get to work on this thing. Enough jibber jabber. I'm gonna start jacking up the rear so then we can get a look at the exhaust. And I'll actually show you guys the exhaust from underneath real quick before I jack this up, so you can actually see how low it is, and then we can compare it to when it's all tucked up and all that. Sorry for the noise from the AC unit, but we're at the back driver wheel. You can see the exhaust right there with the big muffler and the dual exit. And then if you start pulling it back under the subframe, you got your subframe bracing there, and if you just look right underneath it, you can see the exhaust laying right there. So let me bounce it for you guys. So as you can tell, that thing is smacking the ground, so we need to get that raised up just like that ½ inch to an inch, and it should be clear as day. And then we'll smack subframe instead, and it should be solid. Don't have to worry about the exhaust cracking or falling off or any of that. So I'm gonna get to work jacking this thing up, and we can start tucking everything all up. Got the MB jacked up, and I ended up just pulling this wheel off just to make it a little bit easier to access some of the hangers. Got the wheel posted up over there, and now that the wheel's off, you can easily see how low the exhaust is. It'd be kind of hard, but that's the low kind of subframe brace there, and that's the exhaust hanging underneath it. And it hangs about ½ inch to an inch, so we definitely need to jack that up. So now you can at least see my hangers. There's one hiding right back there. There's like 3 or 4 on the muffler, and you guys might have noticed my little, where is it, my little zip tie hanger right there. I totally forgot I did that. I kind of did that temporarily just to get the dual exhaust tips to kind of level out and do all that. So I might see if I can snag one off an old exhaust I have in my shed, so we can at least do it the right way this time. But I have some hose clamps right here. So you get some hose clamps and basically just put them around the rubber bushings and compress them as much as you can, and it'll end up actually closing up that gap right in the middle, raising this whole exhaust up, and you can pretty much get almost an inch out of some of these. So I'm gonna end up just slapping a couple clamps on the back exhaust mounts all the way around, tightening them all up, and I'll show you guys what the exhaust looks like once it's all raised up. I just finished up tucking up the exhaust, and it tucked up perfectly, pretty much as high as I need it. Maybe could get it just like a ½ inch more, but it would take a little bit more work, and I can show you guys how you could do that too. But this is how she's looking right now. Let's see if I can show you. You can see that brace now. You can't even see the exhaust under it, so we should have plenty of clearance there. And I'm just looking at that, let's see, that hanger there. You can see how squished it is with the hose clamp on it. It's kind of hard to see there. Got one there, and then I have another one kind of right up in here. There's a hanger right there, and then I ended up just doing another one on the passenger side just to get the tips to level out, and this thing is perfect. And then I even tried putting another hanger right where I had my little zip tie one. Where is it? Somewhere up there. But for some reason, I do not have the little hook on the body itself to put a hanger. I got it on the muffler, but I don't have it on the body. This car was not built for the dual exit, so I think I just need to do a little more research and see if I can add that piece on. If anything, I could always weld one on later on. But for now, this should be more than solid. And if you really want to get that extra ½ inch, you can always notch out the center of a exhaust hanger. So normally they have some rubber inside of here, and maybe with like a little triangle or something, so they can only compress so much. But once you actually cut out the center, you can compress these things like crazy, and you can get a ton of extra like lift out of it. And the whole goal with this is to at least keep the vibrations down, keeping the rubber there, but still lifting up the exhaust, because having that is so nice without having the exhaust rattling against the frame and just making it hell to drive this thing. So that tucks up the exhaust perfectly and still keeps the rattles down, keeps the rubber in there without any issues. So now that we got that all finished up, we can slap the wheel back on. But I've really been wanting to test fit one of those wheels up there, because I want to see what kind of specs I can fit on this thing. Those are 15x9 with 0 offset, and these are 15x8, I think plus 25. So I kind of want to get an idea of how big of a wheel I can fit on this thing, and if I'm gonna need to roll this, I'm definitely gonna roll it just to at least get good fitment. But I need to see if I need to actually pull the fender out or what. So I'm gonna pull one of those wheels down real quick, and we can test it out, and then jack up the suspension, see how it sits inside the arch there. It's hitting the fucking lip on the inside. If this was just rolled, it would fit perfectly. Oh my god, I gotta show you guys this. Holy cow, with that camber, that looks crazy. You can see it's hitting on that inside lip just right there. But hey, this seems like my spec right there. So 16x9 plus 0. But the thing is, I do want to add another 5 more degrees of camber if I can. So that's kind of my goal with it. Holy cow, that looks gangster. Oh man, I'm gonna have to cop a fender roller soon, roll those fenders, and actually see how this thing looks tucked way up in there. This thing looks gnarly, having this wheel on there all jacked up with, I think it's got like -10 degrees of camber right now, from what I'm gonna say. That thing looks crazy, especially from the top. Holy cow, that thing's got a dish on it. So I'm getting pretty close to what wheel I need. I'm thinking I want to do another, like, I want to do -20 squared on this thing. That's kind of my goal, is a car that's just dumped on its ass, big ass tilt, so everyone's looking at it like, how the hell does that thing even drive? So this is just stock arms right now. This is just like a modified upper control arm with just like a small little slot to try to get as much camber out of it as possible. So I'm really thinking I'm gonna have to do some custom arms, maybe shorten up that top upper and get this top of the wheel to push in a little bit more, and then we should have a lot more camber, but I'm pretty much maxed out on the adjustment I can get. So other than that, we'll play with that in the future once we start building custom arms, because I already knew I had to build some for the front just because they don't really make any camber kits that's not custom arms, so why not try to make it myself if I can. So in the meantime, I'm gonna just slapping this wheel back on, and then we can drop this thing back on the ground, and then we can get the front pulled up on some wood, and we can start mounting up this skid plate and see how much of a pain in the ass this thing's gonna be. I'll probably just set you guys up on a time lapse, and you can watch me struggle install this thing for probably 30 minutes to an hour, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna get this thing dropped back on the ground and get the front jacked up. We'll take a look at all this, all mounts up in there. So you guys just saw, got the Miata pulled up on some wood, and then I just ended up throwing the jack underneath it with a block of wood, lifting it up by the subframe, so I got the whole front end up in the air. So now we can finally get the skid plate all slapped up in there. So my goal is to just kind of put it up in there, put a bolt on each side, get it kind of up in place, then I can get the rest of my bolts all in the kind of in line with each other, and then I can go around, tighten everything all up, and it should go pretty smooth. So I think we got like 10 bolts going around here, and I know I got all my holes drilled from before, so it should be good to go. So I'm just gonna slap it on there real quick, and I'll show you guys once it's all finished up, because getting a time lapse with you guys down here is gonna be kind of tricky, because I have to move the jack around, turn the wheels back and forth, and then me climbing around there trying to tighten everything up. It's gonna be a fun time. So we'll figure this all out and keep an eye on the sunlight, because I'm not sure how long this is going to take me. Might be hard for you guys to tell, but it is currently like an hour, maybe an hour and a half later. And man, I was right. The skid plate was definitely a fight. So there's 8 bolts total. I was able to get 2 on each side in, and then just putting the other ones in, they were just giving me the biggest fight. I'd have to re-drill out the holes, and they'd be ovals. And then even the front ones, I just don't understand how you'd even get to them, because you literally have like an inch gap in between the oil pan and the subframe to get your fingers in there to get the bolt, and then you'd have to tighten it somehow. So I just ended up leaving 2 bolts on each side, tightening it up, and it feels more than solid. So I think she should be good. Let me see if I can grab a light and I can show you guys real quick. So it might be kind of hard to tell, but you can see the plate down in there, and it is in the big U section of the subframe, and now the subframe is nice and flat, and she is good to go. So I didn't have to worry about that, and then I ended up leaving 1 wheel off, so we can actually test fit that same wheel on the front, and then we can kind of see our idea of how big of wheel we can actually fit on the front with stock fenders. So I'm gonna mount that up real quick, jack up the control arm, and then we can get an idea of what she's looking like. Let's see how this goes. Jack her up nice and slow. And that's lifting up the car right there. So that's how she's looking. For a 15x9 0 offset, they fit pretty good on stock fenders. So I think I can definitely go a little bit wider on the front as well, especially once we get a ton more camber in the front, because that front has only got like -6 while the back's got -12. So we're gonna have to do some good modifications up to the front, especially those lower control arms, but we'll work on that in the future. But right now, head is looking pretty good. So I'm curious, I'm thinking about maybe getting some tires, get 2 tires mounted up on each of these rims because I got 2 of them. So I got 1, 2, and get tires mounted up on them, and then I can actually use these wheels to like fit everything up perfectly, get an idea of how it's actually gonna fit up on the car with a tire on it, because it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a good gap in there. So I think I should be able to run a tire with this height, no problem, but you never know. And to be honest, I kind of want to go a little bit lower in the front, so it is what it is. So I'm gonna end up just tossing that wheel back on there, and then we can drop this thing back on the ground, and I think that's gonna pretty much wrap up this video. Got the Miata back on the ground, and she's looking good. Definitely think I need like another 1/2 inch lower in the front, and then like 3/4 to an inch lower in the back to actually get it laying frame on the ground like how I want. And then soon enough, actually customize the arms to get the big camber I'm looking for. I'm looking to do -20 all around on this car. So I just gotta do a little bit more research, see how much I need to extend the lowers in the front, and see how much I need to shorten the rear uppers. I know I'm gonna have to make some tie rods for this thing as well. I'm probably gonna have to extend them. Luckily, I already have a set of those sitting in a box over here that I had before for that car, but never needed them, so I can use them for this to actually extend them. And then I do have the upper control arms for the rear that I pulled out in last week's video, so I can already start adjusting those things, get those ready to go, get them swapped in the car, and that should be super easy in the back. But the front, it's gonna take me a little bit. I'm gonna have to jack it up, either pull the lower control arms out and build them off the car, or cop some new ones to build off the car and then get them swapped in. I might need to do lower ball joints and a few other things, but I'll look into that once I actually do a little bit more research and actually playing around with the car a little bit more, and then we can actually lower it to get it laying frame on the ground like how I wanted. But other than that, that's gonna be the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hope you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. And if you guys stayed this far in the video, I got a new project coming this Friday that I'm super excited for, and it is not a car. So I'll leave it at that. Peace out, guys.